I think we can start because we are lagging behind our schedule. And I did not see our moderator, and this is our final session today. So here is our moderator coming. This is our final session. So I think it will be a bit more dynamic. And I hope we shall have a discussion. And it will be nice to just say a couple of introductory words. Later, the moderator will introduce the participants of this session, but I would like to mention a couple of words about the topic. So we have been talking about the fact what will be happening at the local level when we become aware of the fact that we should take this green course, that we should reach net zero, we should be neutral about land use, and generally we should be neutral about using different types of mineral resources. So consequently, it will have its impact on the functioning of local communities. And they are responsible for many aspects of everyday life in Ukraine after the first stage of decentralization reform. Therefore, I would like to give the floor to Viktor Borshevskyi, representing Ukrainian Catholic University. Good afternoon. And I would like to invite our panelists here. We have Mr. Andrii Pelekhatyi, who is the vice head of Pustomyty Territorial Community, Mr. Mykhailo from Transcarpathian region. We have Iryna Tymechko, who is the director of the Regional Development Agency of Lviv region. And we have Mr. Grigory Borsh, who represents the Association of Territorial Communities. And Oleksandr has already mentioned that it will be a very dynamic discussion. We have a bit around 1 hour. So this will be a discussion of things related to implementation of institutional standards of the European Union. And we also discuss the topics of our symposium. Oleksandr is also probably a participant of our discussion, and he will do the introductory part, and then we shall start the very discussion. So we have two parts in this session. One will be short. I will ask my colleague, Liliia Vakhnyak, to represent the results of the project, and it's about institutional provision of managing land resources at the municipal level. So we shall see where we are. We have already had some conclusions today and yesterday, and probably we should voice them once again. Probably we can even say something against these conclusions. Good afternoon. In this slide, you see the goal. We have heard about the challenges faced by Ukrainian municipalities, but together with Oleksandr, in this research, we have been talking to representatives of different communities. So it was a survey, and it was managers of land management departments, and we also did some more extensive interviews, a bit more about sampling. So some more information about the data. 64 managerial level respondents. We didn't talk to people from frontline communities, and we didn't talk to people from the occupied territories. The sample was formed using the accessibility method, and we took into account diversity of municipalities, and it is not representative. And you understand that these respondents are not very much accessible. I have already mentioned that after this, we did also a series of more detailed interviews in order to clarify certain things which were not visible from the questionnaire. In this slide, you see something which was most striking for us. So here you see the question from the questionnaire, and the respondents had to answer whether they had certain educational programs in relation to land policy. And about 50% of the respondents didn't have this experience. And this is quite concerning, as logically it influences the other phenomena studied later. So when we are talking about expertise planning and monitoring, we see now that people face certain difficulties. People lack legal expertise on land legislation. Practically, we do not have a comprehensive plan for the special development of territories, and that means that we have a lack of strategic vision, how to develop communities. Also, people have difficulties with land control and monitoring, and during our session number 3, we have been addressing this issue, and later we'll go back to this. As far as trainings are concerned, first of all, we wanted to understand how the communities are developing their expertise. But in the process, we changed our focus a bit because we understood that actually we do not have lots of information about training, as land managers do not have this experience. And improving their experience is done due to their contacts with other communities and networking. And we also see that, for example, there was Hoverla project and it was quite significant, but that later it was closed, and the communities that had this cooperation and had this experience actually felt the impact. But also there were communities that didn't have any chance for cooperation with this project and still have very difficult situation with the level of expertise. In our survey, there were some statistical indicators. Right now, we shall not talk about it, but in general, the respondents that have certain documents guiding their activity have usually higher self-evaluation and self-assessment. And also there are some documents describing internal organizational processes, and the same is about data management. We are talking about geoinformational system, so these digital processes also influence the activities of the local communities. And this will be the final scheme from me, and probably it should be viewed as hook for discussion, as the key point for discussion. Here in those boxes, you see certain things we have heard from our respondents. The arrows are implications, these are causal relations, and generally we may say that there are lots of other things influencing each other, and this is something that was pinpointed by our respondents, and these are causal relationship which are now mentioned by our respondents. This is something we should address. And you see that as a result, we have inefficient management of land resources. It is like blind management. Blind management because there is no strategic vision, there is no comprehensive plan, and as a result, there are some other factors influencing it. And all those factors are mentioned here in the slide. And I think I can give the floor to my co-speaker, and let's proceed with the topic. You have mentioned the communities, so let's listen to the representatives of the communities. Yes, the communities were selected from the viewpoint of interest, how they manage their land resources, how they adapt to the current situation. We have Pustomyty community. It is part of Lviv agglomeration, but they have enough their land resources so they can take approach to the situation at different angles. We also have one of the highland communities. They have land resources, they have forest resources, they also have potential for agriculture development, gardening development, farming development, and so on. So in this respect, these two communities actually cover a big range of issues. So probably you can reflect on what you have heard from the presentation, or you can talk in general. Now, all the communities have to adapt to European standards regarding land management and environmental issues. Andrii, probably we shall start with you. Well, we were talking about complex, comprehensive plans of special development. And at one of the meetings for local communities, it was mentioned that there was just one comprehensive plan of special development that was developed by the community from Kyiv region, and they already implemented. The other communities so far haven't come up with that plan, and I would say that it is quite expensive to develop such a plan. I think that we are a well-off community. Our budget is about 350 million hryvnias for 16,000 residents. And we are very close to the oblast center. It's just 10 kilometers away. So Kalynych community separates us from Lviv. So even for us, it is expensive, let alone the communities which are remote communities, for example, communities from Sambir district. These plans should be developed as of today, but they have already been postponed for 3 years. They should be ready for the 1st of January 2028 in our region. Frontline communities will be given more time. Is it feasible? I think no, because it takes 2 or 3 years to develop such plans. Though these plans have good potential for the development of territorial communities, the disadvantages, they can be amended only once a year. What is happening now in the communities? We have master plans, detailed territorial plans. And if we are talking about the researchers, the martial law suspended some processes, but for example, if we take comprehensive special planning, they were actually pushed by the martial law. Now the EU gives some funds. America has funded Hoverla project, and it's a good start for the future development. So we need to do it. I'm not sure we'll be able to do it for the 1st of January 2028, but the communities should think about comprehensive plans of spatial development. They have to do it now. And here we should have cooperation with nature conservation funds. And once again, I stated once again, not every community will be able to afford it financially. So you have been talking about Hoverla. So with special planning, you started in Hoverla project, right? And you have presented your vision of the situation where we are now. Thank you, dear colleagues. Thank you for the invitation. Yes, we have been cooperating with Hoverla project, USAID project, regarding comprehensive plans of special development. And we have been developing the tasks for this plan. And in February, March this year, we expected to sign the agreement for developing of such a comprehensive plan of spatial development. And there were other communities working with Hoverla, and well, in February the project stopped its activity. If we compare our community to that represented by my colleague, then we'll probably be one of the poorest communities in Transcarpathian, and our income will be the lowest probably in the region. Regarding the territory, the structure of the territory, 72% are occupied by forests, and we also have lots of self-seeding forests. We also have arable lands and grazing lands. So probably the forest lands will take about 80%. There were lots of interesting cases today, and I was listening to the report about restoration of degraded lands. I would say that beavers are very active. In my community, we have about 60 or 70% of agricultural lands, which now are not processed, are not worked on, and the nature restores those lands. And while the local residents really want to work on the land. So what are the challenges we face? In the survey, it was mentioned that we have brain drain. Well, in our case, we just do not have the specialists to run away from us. We lack them. We cooperate with some donor programs, different NGOs that teach us, that organize trainings for us, that show us some cases. And for small mountainous communities, it is important to have ready-made cases which can be replicated. It is difficult to develop something on our own because we lack staff for this. And once again, we feel the shortage of staff. Hoverla project was our big support, and there were different activities there, and we were developing some of our activities through this project. Probably we should raise the funding issue. Well, let's come closer to those things. However, is closed, but there are some other funds or organizations or opportunities. So probably you can address the first part and the financial part as well. Good afternoon. Well, we have to be guided by the European Union projects and programs, those which exist and those that meet the strategic goals of the EU. These are the programs for till 2028. We have Interreg Europe project. This is one of the basic tools for policy development. And one of the projects is about smart specialization. And here I would like to say that there are some problems with local communities. For example, when we talk to representatives of other countries, they are ready to develop some tools. So definitely we have to raise awareness. What is smart specialization? What is green transition? What is climate change adaptation? So we should start with awareness raising, then sharing experience, and then we should start with some more specific things. Some programs are ready to provide expert support, but we understand that those programs that will be developed will be implemented by us. And once again, the point is about implementation of such policies or programs. For example, there is LIFE project. There is also the project on water. And these are EU projects, and they are aimed at consortium. This is the consortium of business representatives, public institutions, local self-governance authorities, and academia. And this consortium produce synergy, which works really efficient. So this is the experience we should probably use. We should not immediately look for financial resources. We understand that financial resources should be used, but they should be used in an efficient way. And there are lots of government organizations in France, in Finland, in Germany, in the Czech Republic that provide funding for territorial communities. There are different projects. Hoverla is closed, but there are some other USAID projects which are still in place. And recently there was a visit of the State Department representatives, and they are ready to support. But we understand that those funds want to have certain product and effect of the product, and it should be understood by all local authorities. And what is important is to be guided by European integration goals. We understand that we cannot be in the EU if we do not comply with their principles. Once again, green transition, adaptation to climate changes. So this is what is important. Probably you can mention your experience and the continuation of the topic.
Thank you, Viktor. I represent the Territorial Communities Association, and I would like to support the honorable heads of communities because they say as it is, and we feel it because we cooperate with many communities, and there are difficulties and problems as they are similar. And our association is also is composed of small and medium territorial communities, and the problems of a lack of specialists and staff, it is very difficult. And how to solve it, I am afraid that we don't have a ready recipe. And as for the financing, I can say the following: any complex problem should need complex solutions, and the position of the state that we gave you decentralization, be happy of the decentralization. It does not work like this. The communities, they received the authorities, but they had to have the authorities to powers to implement, and sometimes even powers were transferred without very much of happiness, and with resources is much more difficult. So today, to organize the system of financing, I would see it in a complex way. Let's start with the state, and the state would have to not only to declare but to do something really, to organize a subvention, transfer money, to invest with resources and with finances in what they give as promises. It's one part. Second part really is international money, and first of all, the money from the European Union. And with the European Union, on the one hand, it's easier because they have the opportunities, they are interested, and because on the other side, it's a bit more difficult. It is documentation, and it's the knowledge how to speak the same language, the foreign languages, and also then the language of financial reporting. We should be capable to do it. So, but we all declare that we enter the European Union, and it is written in our constitution. But how do we enter the European Union if the majority of our communities, we don't have the plans of complex development of the territories? Who does enter? Who enters into the European Union. And so we need to invest in all of this. And one more about the international funds. European Union, every 6 months, they renew the priorities of activities where they will send common European money. Now we live in the period from 21 to 27, and during these 7 years, Ukraine is in the priority list, and we are the target to get very happily generously the money. If we follow these principles, so we understand the documents, we understand these people. What happens in 27, I don't know. I don't know what will happen in the next year, but we should be ready that this golden rain likely it will not stop, but theoretically it can be reduced. And those who want to cooperate actively with the European Union, I would recommend to be more excited. And besides the European money, there is one more component of financial support is the financial investments. So we needed to attract not only the European money, but to build a large partnership, and the European Union through this consortium. Thank you, colleague. They teach us, they inject this culture in many competitions. You will not be allowed if you don't have the consortium according to the requirements. And besides, we should remember about such things like private and public partnership, and we have a law. And besides this, European Union promotes actively a private, public, and civil partnership, where the local authorities they cooperate with local business and local public, local society, and they distribute and the responsibilities to achieve the results. And the last but not the least, as English say, the local resources of the communities and our municipalities, as or what we said, they are the smallest ones, but the reform of decentralization, it envisages that this amount should grow. Everyone should live with the money earned, and now maybe it's not the main source on which we should be based, but we need to develop this, and we need to use it in the maximum as we can. As from my personal impressions, a bit away from all. Thanks to colleagues. Today I listened twice and heard that the best work is done in our country is by the beavers after the local self-government authorities, of course. So it's funny, but on the other way, it's said it would be better that our heads of the communities would be more responsible for these institutions. Thank you. So, I would tell you about the local self-government and the opportunities. I would say this week I was at the event and everyone was speaking about the staff, the lack of the staff in local self-government. It is there really, but when we are here in this university number 1 in the Western Ukraine for 100%, and maybe I think in Ukraine, but when the student comes out of the educational institution and the self-government body. We see, even we outside of Lviv, we see that we cannot satisfy them with the money that they use, they want, because even if they come with us, they leave us in 2 years, and these salaries, they do not correspond to what that the people have in public, in private companies in even Lviv, and to cover the lack of staff and how many people we need to teach in the universities, and even if they graduate, I'm not sure that will come to the local self-government to work there. And if you take our community, we go to the climate neutrality and reduction of CO2 emissions, and together with the organizers, we together with Ecoaction, we developed the plan of ecological development inside the community. We won the grant, and that was for reduction of CO2 emission. And when when we developed this, we speak about money, and we applied for European Investment Bank to get money from insulation improvement in 3 big buildings in our communities, hospital, school, and lyceum, and hospital, and we have the dream to make our community independent fully. Maybe will not be capable because of the external energy sources. We can do it with solar panels, with heat pumps. We just started to put our financial resources because before the war nobody thought about this. And when we spoke about this, for example, solar power station, when we were speaking before the war that why do we need this? It's not necessary because the price of electricity is very low. But today we are ready to speak about this, and we are ready to develop the spatial plans. It is required, but the financial point is very important now, and we need to work with European funds because the later we start to do it, we will be more behind the communities that are doing already, because the colleague said you were working with Gaverla, but we didn't do it. It's very sad that we didn't do it because the more you do it now and the more communities do it now, the more they will be achieving. So when the donors will come, as they will be capable to cooperate, and they will move. So it was the announcement of discussion, and as it was the point of discussion. So we spoke the cooperation with the state, with European, with civil society. With my impressions myself, last week we said that we lack people in the self-government. Mr. Nekhaychuk wrote that more than 80% of state authorities lack staff. Even in state authorities, they lack, but it is the big priorities, and the question how they will function. But there is another aspect. Civil society institute in communities, from my impressions, they are also they on their own settings. They have the system of grants. They are not bothering about our today's discussion, and we wanted to involve the regional administration from Lviv. Besides architecture and economics, could be very close because they work with communities, but they said we don't know what it is. And agrarian departments, they say it's about a green transfer. It's not for us. And the third about the we worked last month in some communities, and there was a context how the communities know about the European integration, and the communities they know that European Union they have their standards. The communities they said that we don't need only adapt ourselves. The European Union should adapt to us, and let's say everyone works in this mode, and maybe how to integrate all this. So I would tell you from the experience. So we received the support with UCOR to go to Romania and Romania. Why they entered the European Union? Because they adapt to finances very fast. They adopted the staff the Poland they did it very fast, but not Romania, because they entered and it took them 10 years, and now Andrii says they developed the plan. But we to get the money from European Union, we needed to do according to the requirements. We need to have a strategic planning, and we needed to invest in the experts and lots of requirements and very little of communities who are ready. Now we speak about the community that invested and received, but lots of them, for example, Pustomyty communities, they want to get the loan, but show us your financial capacities. They cannot return this money. Can we get finances from the regional authorities, from Ministry of Economy? We should understand that the local authorities they should have the strategic documents. They have the strategic staff, and the problem is the project management. So we see the following thing: we have a lot of experts who understand in different fields, economy, ecology, clusterization, but we have the problem with the project management. That is, we have very little people who can think in project way. So this is the problem. People who go to local authorities, they work to work with tasks. So we in our agency, we take people from the university and we teach them. And so when they receive the request from the ministry, they do it. But here it's different. You must to communicate. You should agree with the partners from abroad. So when they communicate, when it is about the budget documents, it's okay. But when the European Union they provide the time, you have 1 million euro, and you have 10 partners, and you should share between yourself. And sometimes one task is done by 3 partners. You should share, and you understand who does what. So strategic documents. It means that certified experts, and we need to understand how to cooperate, because we have a lot of infrastructure project. We have a lot of them, but very little project they prepared with a consortium. Everyone knows how to work by himself, and this is the problem, and I cannot understand why. And so everyone makes a document as they upload to the dream. So the strategy, okay, we will do it. And then the financial plan, we will do it. But when you come to cooperate with a neighboring community, the public organization, okay, but if it is a university, but this is the problem that appears. Why, I don't know. And you, please, colleague, you said you're poor, maybe the clothes and maybe in whose is bigger, it can push them, but I would like to continue. What Romania coped with when it entered the European Union, because 2 weeks ago I went to Romania and Romanians came to us and the Polish they did it only in 30%, and we are in the same phase as Romania was before entering the the European Union, and now Romanians they just covered our Zakarpattia communities. They wanted to cooperate. Every day we have requests from Romanian colleagues. They want to cooperate. They want to manage the money from the side of European Union, and the Ukrainian facility, it will not go through the state budget, but through some consortiums, and we in Zakarpattia, we create a local association for local government to use this instrument, and for this and cooperation for us for border regions. For we interested in such interreg and others. And if about ecology, we prepare together with Romanians a project about the ecology, about the protection of the territory from floods, and we see the problems. We cannot apply for the project. We are not the owners because the water resources is the state, and every program asks the question, the document that you are the owner. So we are limited in the possibility to use these opportunities. And when you apply for the project, it is not selected for these technical conditions.
If there are no staff, the head should be a project manager, should perform the functions of civil society. We also actually establish public organizations where the heads of communities are chairing those organizations, because we have to participate in different projects. On the topic of young people, we take students from the 3rd or the 2nd year and we teach them. And I agree that in any structural unit of the village council, there should be a project manager, because it's necessary to attract investments, to work on agricultural issues. So if we get to the topic of spatial planning and how we can get this net zero, and once again, we are a community that own about 70% of lands. We did a research in cooperation with GIZ project, and we developed energy efficiency program. And it turned out that our CO2 emissions are zero, because big part of our territory is covered with forests. What else are we doing regarding GIZ cooperation? We developed this energy efficiency program, and we got special equipment to do the energy audit of our buildings and municipal buildings, and energy efficient measures in our buildings also result in CO2 emissions reduction. We trained 2 energy managers, and one energy manager actually left our community because he was given a good job proposal with proper salary, which we unfortunately cannot afford. Now we are active in environmental area. We do separation of waste, sort waste, and we try to work on infrastructure and on social cohesion in the community. And the project is funded by the Polish government. And we are trying to address the waste issue. In mountainous regions, we didn't have any landfills because, well, there are certain restrictions according to the legislation. So you cannot have landfills, and we didn't have them. So the problem where we should put our waste is just huge. Well, definitely there are agricultural areas. And they probably have their landfills. With us, it's not the case. And we want to teach our people to sort waste, but well, there is huge protest. People are reluctant to do it. And it's very difficult to actually fight this resistance. And when we say, for example, you have to do something, and people come back from abroad, and they were doing it abroad, they were sorting waste abroad, but at home they do not want to do it. And though we have not very few agricultural lands, we still do not know what to do with those we have. People privatized some land plots. The taxes for these lands are not high. And actually, the landowner is not obliged to do something on this land, to do some agricultural activity. So in our community now, we pay lots of attention to supporting traditional farming. For example, sheep farming, goat farming. There are certain incentives that we introduce. We try to ensure grants for our farmers or for our residents who would like to become farmers. And now we also are trying to give grazing lands to those in leasing who would like to do farming. So we also have the residents. That will probably be one more group. So the question was why we are like that. My father said, if you want to do something good, do it yourself. We do not have this culture of delegation of powers and partnership. The situation is just the same. And this is very bad, particularly regarding this lack of partnership culture, particularly if we take a look at European Union. They have huge number of partnerships. People get together, people get united, they establish public organizations. People get united in terms of their interests, not in terms of their interests. This is the way of life, so to say. And the quicker we'll be able to become part of it, to follow this example, the quicker we'll be able to achieve success and results. And the similar thing can be said about our self-governance authorities, because they take a rescue position. Will support everybody, will do everything for everybody. This is nice rhetoric on the eve of election. People like it, but the viewpoint of self-governance authorities coordinate some administrators, while all should be organized, should be organized cooperation with union leaders, with the part in subjects. So this is an example fully. And from this point of view, when people come to the project office, is quite visible energy. How it happened really. It's impossible to get and find out any strategy. Question is, well, you do not have any priorities, you do not have a strategy. So how is it possible to have a strategy? Okay, let it be. Have your strategy. We'll commission it from some. You have to submit it together with is to bring together around something for people what we want, why we want this thing, what we are going to do to have it. And the strategy actually is not a document. Product strategy. The key developing the strategy is the pros when the community agrees, thinks about something, writes about this on paper, and later implements it. It was an illustration about the importance of the way of thinking. Zero topic. When I was getting ready for the symposium, at one drop of water can give you an idea of the global ocean. We open Wikipedia, zero, you have it. In Russian, you have it. The majority of European Union languages, you have it. Thai language, Hebrew language, it is available. Do you think there is a definition in the Ukrainian language? At least it wasn't there 2 days ago. Probably something has changed since that time. If we want people to be active, or if we want people at least to know about it, just think about the fact that just 2 years ago, or 2 hours ago, some of us didn't hear anything about agrivoltaics. So if we want people to know, there should be some information available. And this knowledge should be widespread. This knowledge should be promoted, if we can use the word. Because ignorance and lack of knowledge will generate some absurd ideas and beliefs. People will believe in magic. Or it may lead to some very weird things. So we have to invest into knowledge. We have to invest our possibilities, our resources, our knowledge. And the final point I would like to mention, for the people to be willing to do something and for the people to get some knowledge, you'd better not tell them about it, but show how it works. And one tiny piece of advertisement. We cooperate with our territorial communities. We take people, we go on study tours abroad, and we show how it works abroad, how the efforts of the officials, of local authorities, are converted into something practical, something we like in Europe. Everything is well maintained. Everything is very neat. Everything is very nice. People are friendly. Everybody has very comfortable life without any stresses. And people are ready to smile, and people are smiling. So this is the result of unification of efforts. Definitely everybody had once his or her first visit abroad, and we all remember our first impressions. It will be nice if we can do it here in Ukraine and to actually build that bridge to our next topic. So, what we can do about the situation, how we can change it. So, you have mentioned that we have to teach people and to train people. Well, definitely we can work with public activists, with the representatives of local authorities, if they are qualified enough. But still, the majority of population will stay here in Ukraine, and they have to adapt to our Ukrainian standards. For example, Poland, they are in the EU for many years, and we still see these farmers' protests. And so we have the country which is in the EU. Not all the people are ready to tolerate certain changes. Just imagine some communities who will be said, well, you have to pay for waste removal, you have to pay for alternative sources of energy. Here you cannot do what you were doing traditionally. So how we can raise our society in such a way that we avoid some protest attitudes. So, how we can change our society? Definitely, we are talking about the level of community. Well, whatever changes we suggest, there will be a response. People are generally difficult in terms of perceiving changes. And Ukrainian people generally are negative towards any changes. They like the situation, they like the status quo. And our problem is that we cannot explain difficult things in simple words. We like terminology, we like sophisticated explanation. But now there are lots of partners we have, and they say that very difficult things should be presented in the form of the cartoons or comic strips. And we were very skeptical about it. And our partners say that this is the best way for people to perceive information. So when everything is difficult, a person doesn't perceive it. And we said, let's try. So the experts probably should learn how to do it, how to deliver that message to people. So, how we should go through it? Well, your integration is our task. Otherwise, we won't be in the EU. And we have to deliver the message to everybody in territorial community. And everybody should be engaged in the process. It doesn't mean that, for example, that if a person doesn't sort the waste, so there shouldn't be the situation when I do not pay and somebody pays for waste removal. So there should be equal conditions for everybody. Every country starts with the rule of law. So we have to ensure equal rights and equal duties for everybody. Unless we do not have it, we shall have those protests because we like comparing ourselves to others. So the conditions should be the same for everybody and the rules should be the same for everybody. It cannot be the case that one business does something and that's okay, and there is another company that is doing the same and is given a huge fine. So if we introduce such rules and they're equal for everybody, and if person who violates the rule will be punished, people will get used to new conditions. People will understand that these are equal conditions and they are the same for everybody. This is the first thing we have to do. Well, the question is what we have to do. the answer I give, we have to teach young people, starting with kindergarten. There is a Bible story when Moses was just leading the people in the desert for 40 years. So we have to raise new generation. And for example, I have a 4-year daughter, and she teaches me something I taught her. For example, if I do something in the wrong way about the waste, she corrects me. So we have a project in our community. This is at the final stage, and we pay lots of attention to educational things in kindergarten and schools, because the child that is brought up as an eco-friendly citizen, a child who is taught how he or she can protect nature, how he or she can be responsible for nature, will teach his or her parents. The parents will listen to their kids. And we have organized an experiment. We want to work on eco topic with children, and we want to see whether our children will be able to influence their parents. I support both ideas. I would say that yes, we have to teach kids and we have to impose fines on adults. An example from our community. We have a voluntary fire team, and I'm a member of that team. And yes, we do, and we put out fires. This year, we have put out 35 fires, and the majority of these fires are grass fires. There were 2 fires in buildings, one in the multi-storied building. There was 1 car fire. All the other cases were just burning of dry grass. And so I am a member of this fire team, as I've said. And this fire team is around the most coordinated settlement. The fire vehicle was presented to us by one of the Finnish communities, and the fire station is on the territory of one of the farms. And our residents said, okay, let's impose penalties on people. They burn dry grass, and we have to put out that fire. Moreover, the state emergency service does not respond to the situation because they know that we are there. So those people who are doing it on a voluntary basis already understand that the fines should be imposed, and we do it, and it helps. For example, one of the cases was when dry grass and the fire actually reached the boundary of the house, and there was even a fire brigade from Lviv, because we couldn't put out it on our own. On our own, and the person actually almost burned its own house.
So maybe you would like to add something, or maybe we'll come to the questions. I would like to make a note. We'll make a note about the measures to learn about new cases, very successful practices, successful managers to make networking with our communities open for cooperation, to cooperate with other communities and other projects, and very often we use the achievements of our colleagues. We cooperate with other projects because we have problems and without specialists, without data. The forestry we have in the community, natural forests, they are ancient forests. When we answer of the Carpathian forest office. What are the natural forests? We don't know, because some civil organization came and they just made a picture, but nobody knows. But we as a community wanted to develop this and to have some result from this. We wanted to popularize this, especially the population, as they cannot know about this if the self-government body does not know what are the natural pre-ancient forests. So we work and look for any opportunity for cooperation. Thank you. Maybe questions? Can I the second moderator from the room. We started to speak about the land resources. I look at the map of cadastre and from Transcarpathian, and I see a lot of places not in cadastre. So today we see we have no money, we have limits and very big problems. What prevents us to bring the first, to come through the first phase, to put into cadastre, to understand where we are? So more or less we will understand it will increase the income, it will be the taxes, and it will be a stabilization of communities, and there will be money from some clever things, and it will be an incentive. I think in Kharkiv region it's much more difficult, but this is the responsibility of a self-government body to finish this and move forward. As we were looking with Liliia, it's a real problem because we jump above 3 heads. We have digitalization and cadastre, but we don't have the cadastre map, and we don't have this basis on which we try to put all these integrations and the consortiums and the projects and the development of complex plans without the basis. In fact, I would say that we we have communities in that they passed us through inventory to the maximum. People have the title for ownership, but they didn't develop a cadastre number. We fight with the businessmen if they don't have the land plots. We didn't take the land plot from somebody who build some buildings, and they don't pay the taxes on communal land, and they don't sign contracts. And so we decide decision. We will limit this building with 2 meters, and we will take the other land. So immediately that it provokes the businessman to put his land into cadastre, and if it is already registered, because we are close to Lviv, the land costs a lot, but people didn't want to go to cadastre. But as you say, see, people, they abuse this, and very much. We had a case when there is a businessman, he gives the warehouse, he rents in three plots, and he doesn't pay taxes, and it would be 500,000 hryvnias per year. And he came to the administration. He said that he will put us into prison, and because he doesn't owe to anybody, to us, and he will never pay to the state. So we achieved that we had in favor for for us, and we can continue with the third. And the person who worked the whole his life on the state position, but now he says he doesn't owe anybody to the state. But we need to fight, and all these problems will not be solved in one day. I would add that from the side of our community, we have the same situation. It's with some portion of agricultural land. They have documents, but until 2013, they don't appear in the cadastre. But if you looked in the cadastre, but did you see the relief, the non-inventory lands? They are mountains. You will not put the solar panels, and you will not build the industrial parks, and you will not plant blueberries. So people are not very interested in these territories. Please believe me, if the people would be interested in those lands and these resources, we would be happy to put them into inventory, and would see how would we transfer them in our sell or rent. But now we prepare the session on the 30th of October, a lot of document about the inventory of the land, because we see an entity, he wants to raise sheep, and he asks for these lands for pastures of the sheep. Maybe we do not advertise ourselves, or maybe someone from the territory close to the combat would like to relocate, or maybe come to bring and be involved in agriculture that can be done in our lands, maybe because we don't use enough these opportunities, but we have bigger territories that we can use for this purpose, and this is for the activity which is not very harmful for the ecology. That's it. Maybe any other questions? I want first of all to thank the organizers of this symposium. You see that we sit and we don't run away. It looks like it's very late. It is dark outside, but we communicate. I wanted to thank everyone for this sincerity, and thank everyone who is present here, because myself as the head of the community, sometimes I miss the communication with my colleagues, and now it's very important, necessary, and please, sir, please transfer our greetings to the project office of the territorial communities, and you know, we cooperate with them very much, and during one visit to Germany, we are from the communities, form communities near the front line, and it was the security field, so we opened the fire team, and we came to this mission, and every community we brought 1 million euro of assistance, and it's very cool, and people saw it, and we feel this support. So big greetings to the Ukrainian Association of Territorial Communities, who is close to us. I am not promote any association. We are a member of association of communities, and we cooperate a lot, and we have the result. I want to thank Ecoaction, the public organization with whom we cooperate very long, and these projects that implemented in our community, it's a very big action, and it's very important. So let God send us peace to all of us, and give us the strength, and we will win in this war. You are very cool person, and I listen to you, and I jealous of you, but it is cool, and lots of thanks to all who were present here. Glory to Ukraine, and glory to heroes. So we had we have the topic again. I am the assistant professor in geographic faculty in the University of Lviv. So the lack of specialists, they started from the first years of in the universities. So look well after your students, and maybe they will make miracles. Maybe someone will stand in your community and will become a 100-year oak inside your community, and will put roots. Last year, I had as a student of Lviv National University from geographic faculty, and she made a thesis on our strategy and our documents, but unfortunately, very little of successful students who wanted to come back to a rural area. So, okay, maybe the finalizing word to Viktor. Maybe I thank everyone of our panel discussion for their contribution, their intellect and time, and you received the feedback. Of course, you became richer of this discussion. So we will come to the finalization discussion, and in 2 minutes we will have the finalization session, who will be moderated by Iryna, director of laboratory. And please stay a bit, and then we will let you go to go home, and we will hope that you will bring our topics into life. And then and I don't tell you the stories that we will discuss in 3 minutes. So that's it. So wait for 3 minutes.